Today I'm joined by George White, one of the most powerful motivational speakers in the world right now, with 113,000 followers on Instagram and over 340,000 followers on TikTok and counting. He's also the author of the 2019 book 24 Phases of Life, and now the host of the George White the Speaker podcast. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally. George, I'm so excited to have you here for multiple reasons, but you are a huge influencer, and it's just growing and growing and growing.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I wanted to find out how you got to the ideas that led to this platform that is really catching on so much, which is a lot based on authenticity. So tell me how you got these ideas.
You know, it's what took place are the things I went through life. And when God told me back in 2018 that my voice would touch the world, and it did, I just had to learn how to be very creative in what I do. I couldn't be afraid of the opinions of others. I just continued to live in my purpose. You know, it wasn't easy. You know, everybody had their own voice in the world and the way they speak and the way they create their content. But I had to step outside the box and see how can I be different. And the way I could be different is to be me, which is the big speaker. I call myself the big speaker, the voice, big dog, and that will allow me to get people motivated to get ready to transition so they can transform. And I always tell people, if there's nobody like you, they can't replace you. If you stay true to who you are, nobody can tell you who you're not.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of blow me away. And when we first met, that was the first thing that struck me is I was like, how this guy is so authentic. Like he just,
Thank you.
And I mean this ends up being a compliment to me, but you do remind me of me because I know exactly who I am.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's important.
And I love to be exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I just was blown away by you. So let's jump back for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
You said, you grew up in poverty. You had various things happen to you, and I want the audience to hear a little bit about what those were because they're such a big part of who you came to be.
You know, when you grow up in a way where it's like you live in fear, not only poverty, but the house situation. You know, growing up in a single family home, you know, being the youngest, and you never feel peace. You never get to experience peace because there's always something that's taking place, or you see something that you shouldn't at a young age. But I do believe that things in life take place for different people, and because it's for their testimony. Somebody might be attached to your testimony later in life. So to grow up in poverty in a single family home, being the youngest out of three, my mom worked two jobs to make ends meet. And believe it or not, she made ends meet. And I think that would created my character in a way, and it gave me like this strength that I needed for now. And I don't think people understand the importance of that. So I'm gonna emphasize on it. You can't be strong as you want to be if you haven't been through nothing, if you haven't encountered anything. You know, like I said, I grew up in poverty. We didn't understand nothing outside of poverty. So I grew up with speaking with colloquialism, which is like street terminology. You know, everybody else had proper English. We wasn't fun to that because we only adapt to what we see because we are a creature of habit, and anything you do for a period of time become your nature. And that's how the mind set up. So as I got older, living the project, it showed me the way of survival. And I could still use that technique right now because a lot of people get comfortable where they're going in life, and they lose their hunger that they have, and they don't create longevity. It's just like a one-hit wonder. They hear it and they back down. So when a person keep that survival instinct within them, even when they get where they're going in life, they will still have that hunger inside them to be great at everything that they do. And me growing up in poverty taught me that. It taught me that when I became a football star. You know, became a football star in high school, but I was so conformed to my living that I didn't create any structure for myself at school, which allowed me to not meet the academic requirement for a lot of colleges. And I feel like that was selfish of me. And people say, why, George? Because If I knew that we were living in the projects, we were living in poverty, my main focus should have been, hey, you got to stay focused and turn up and get your family out the hood. But like I say, when you so conform to what you see, it become a part of you and you become a part of it. And just to say that, man, I lost a lot of opportunity to get further where I wanted to be in life as an NFL player, or, I got kicked out of college as well, lost the chance to have my scholarship because of I wasn't mentally focused, and I had the mental capacity. And I teach the people I mentor, the people I speak to, if you don't have mental capacity, it's kind of hard for you to have mental agility. And that's what's going to help you get to the next level in life. But I can say that the mistakes I made mold me and shift me in such a way as a father, as a husband, as a motivation speaker, as a reality speaker, as somebody's uncle, somebody's brothers, somebody's son. So that's why I'm here today. That's why I say, for me to be one of the biggest speakers in the world right now, it just didn't start yesterday. It started from my testimony from 14 years ago. And that's the reason why a lot of people are able to gravitate to me, because it's very authentic, very passionate. I don't hold nothing back. I give the world what they need. I don't tell you what sounds good. I tell them what they need to know.
That's beautiful stuff. So, George, I want to ask you a question. I'm sure you're going to have an answer because you're a guy with lots of answers. Sure. But, a lot of times people have trouble seeing the mistakes of the past or their trauma or their adversity as something that they can turn into something positive, and you clearly have. But how did you come to that? How did you discover that or get that viewpoint on it? Because obviously that wasn't always your viewpoint as you went through it. Somehow you came to that.
So you got to turn your pain into passion. That's one thing. A lot of people are afraid to look in the mirror. That's the second thing. And a lot of people are afraid of adversity. They fear adversity more than anything. But sometimes you got to realize life is not meant for you to control anything. It's meant for you to get through. If you can break through before you break down, you're going to be stronger than ever. So we got to create this habit and have understanding, say, okay, if this takes place, I got a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Why is that, George? My B protect my A, my C protect my B. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people say, no, you should only have one plan, which is plan A, and you give 110%. Okay, I respect that. But when push comes to shove, what happens if plan A don't go as planned? What do you have next? What do you have to fall back on? Nothing. So it's imperative to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Because your plan B going to be as strong as your A. Your plan C going to be as strong as your B. And I just think that when we start to streamline and create our own blueprint to things, we'll create this understanding that, okay, it's okay to feel the way you feel when it comes to facing adversity. Just don't let adversity kill you. Don't worry about having control. Have control of the things you can control and move forward.
I love so much about what you're saying, and it really resonates with what my own experience has been. But the main thing I want to highlight here is you're basically saying you don't see adversity and trauma as bad things per se, even though it's not fun to go through. They're growth opportunities. They change you.
Exactly. But I'm going to say this too, Dan. Like, what do you gain out of living in trauma or staying in trauma? See, that's why a lot of people are still the same way they are, because that's a generational cycle. And I teach people before we can create generational wealth, we must first create generational health. It's imperative. We tend to overlook that. We go chase the money and not the mental state. That's why you'll see a lot of people who are unhealthy mentally that go to these seminars to teach you how to be a millionaire. Okay, that's cool. But how you gonna go somewhere? A seminar can teach you how to be a millionaire. But what you gonna do about your spirit? I'd rather be rich in the spirit than be rich, in the flesh. And that's why I teach people. That's why I teach people. We gotta worry about chasing the right thing, and the great things will come to us. And for us to break these generation cycles and generations curses and things like that, we gotta be aware. Awareness is imperative. It's important for you to understand. If you're aware of yourself and aware of things around you, you can break a lot of cycles and help other people break through before they break down. If you go outside right now, a person, and this is how the mind works, and this is what a lot of people battle with: depression, anxiety, stress, and things like this. Everything branches off of one another. So You can suffer from anxiety, which can lead to depression because you stress, or you can suffer from stress, which lead to depression, that lead to anxiety. But the way to beat this is that you gotta create new habits. Sometimes these things are created because you do the same routine every day. That's one thing. You overanalyze, you overthink too much. That's another thing. You're not putting yourself in a position where you can clear your mind. So you will hear this saying: a lot of people sleep, but they don't rest. Some people haven't rested in 20 years, and they've been on this earth for 25. Some people go to sleep, but they haven't rested. And they got to find a new way to clear their mind, to create mental capacity, so they can so they can transition, so they can transform. And one of the big way to do that is to break some cycle from your mom, your dad, your grandma, and other people that's in your family, because we are a creature of habit.
Well, you're going to be motivating my audience. I can see that happening. So let me ask you this, George. I think everybody has turning points in their lives that allow them to have these kind of perspectives or breakthroughs. What were maybe one or two key ones for you?
The first one was I got tired of being convicted. I'm a man of God before anything, and I stand on principle. And I got tired of being convicted, man. I got tired of feeling the way I was feeling. Everything was dark. I had to learn to step into the light. And once I stepped into that light and learn how to confess and surrender, I've been a new person. You know, I was able to receive the things I prayed for. Not everybody can say that. I'm telling you this here. I'm different from a lot of people. God gave me the gift of discernment. So I understand people, the way they think and things like that. So, and God allowed me to understand myself first, so I can help other people. And that's why I'm able to have a wife, able to have a kid, have kids and things like that. Because I was able to confess the things that were burdening me. And I learned how to surrender. And I feel like I can't be no better than where I am now, because the only way to go from here is up. So
one of the things that I want to highlight in what you're saying is you're basically saying that at some point it's a decision. You know, you look at the things that are happening in your life, and at some point everybody has the chance to say, I have had enough of this way.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to try things in a different way. And it's beautiful that you did that. Usually it takes a big leap of self-belief, though, to then take that and say, now I've got things to say to other people. And you're a motivational speaker with these platforms that are growing and growing and growing for good reason. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you could talk about how you got that leap of self-belief, that you had something to say.
You know, belief comes from overcoming. You know, that's how you create that belief within yourself. But first, before anything, you got to create belief in the man above. So once you start creating the belief, you feel like you can do anything. If you feel like there's nothing you can't do. But we have an understanding that might be somebody who always better than you. Now, and I teach people this as well. It's a difference between skill set and will set. You can be very talented than me. You can be more skilled, but I can still beat you because I have that will set. I'm going to give you 140% every day versus somebody who has the skill set. So when you start overcoming all these challenges that you never overcame before, it gives you this new high. You start developing something about you that you never had. And that's when you start tapping into different things about you. And now you start becoming more creative. You start adjusting and adapting to certain situations that used to break you or made you fold. It teach you not to, you might bend, but you won't break. And it teach you a lot about yourself. And now you're in that groove where you feel like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And you're doing everything with a structure now. And you are being very, having a sense of urgency to everything that you do. And now everything starts to manifest and prosper in the way that it should.
Beautiful. So you talk a lot about authenticity, like very, very quickly into our first conversation that came up. And in the work that I do, I work on something where I work on people's power, their power with themselves. And a lot of that comes with this sense of being on their own journey. I have a term called the Power of Aloneness. And it really is about recognizing nobody can make the choices in your life but you. Exactly. I know this will resonate with you. From what you've said, I mean, it's just right in your wheelhouse. But that means that each one of us has something special. Each one of us has our own path. And I read a quote from you, if I'm not mistaken. It was, God places an assignment on every individual's life. Mm-hmm. It is important to remember you had a purpose before anyone had an opinion.
Yes. You had a purpose.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. You spoke about power. There's a lot of people in this world right now, Dan, don't know how much power they have because they give their power to powerless people. They give their power to powerless people. Reason why? They always looking for somebody to affirm them. So I teach people, help people, and implement this, that I try to impute this to my young people, my older people as well, that it don't matter what happened, what people say, know who you are, hold your own power, because you had a purpose for anyone had an opinion. And that phrase itself moves mountains. It does. Because I seen a lot. I grew up in that way. Then I see a lot of people, a lot of women who've been broken down, about either their child father, past husband, because they lost their power years ago and lost their power to a powerless person. So it's imperative for you to understand who you are, walk in your anointing, walk in your calling, because you are powerful as anything as anybody else or anything else on this earth. But you just have to believe. Things might not always be perfect, but it's always on time.
Incredible words for multiple reasons, but they just really speak to what I'm always telling other people. You echoed something that I think is really important. People don't just give away their power; they're always giving it away to powerless people. It's incredible, and I used to do it too.
I'm guilty as well.
Yeah, I mean, I used to give away my power to people. I was afraid of them, and then I found out, oh my God, they're terrified, or they're bullies, or all these people who don't actually have that much power. So there's something about inhabiting our own power that's really, really important. Now, I want to ask you this: how did you know that your assignment was to be a motivational speaker? Essentially, if that is how you see your assignment. If it's not, I want to hear from you. How do you see your assignment? Let's start there.
When I knew this is my assignment, because as a kid, listen, they always told me I had an older soul. My birthday was late, so when I was 4 or 5 years old, I had to sit out another year because of how my birthday fall. But so I was hanging with my grandpa and my uncle. Rest in peace, my uncle, man. And I started speaking like them, talking like them. And I was a talk a lot. So ever since I was a kid, I said, man, you're going to be a preacher one day. You can talk a lot. You got an old soul. And, that was one of the reasons. But the reason why the reason why I know that this is my assignment is because of what God had told me and what God had showed me. But one of the first things I had to do was heal. And the reason why is you can't be a powerful speaker if you haven't healed. And God wanted me to do that. So I would project my pain and my energy on the next person. So once I learned how to heal, then he put me in a position to go heal. So, and people got to understand that a lot of people try to step into an assignment that's not theirs. We got to understand broken people can't fix broken people. Hurt people can't fix hurt people. You had to heal. Believe it or not, Dan, it's a big percentage of people in this world that have been healed. They just moved on. And what's happening is they projecting their pain and their energy on the next person. Not always intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but they do it. So to know that I'm in my assignment is what I'm correcting, what I see about healing. And it's about when you're in your assignment, you don't have to work harder. You just got to work smarter. You don't have to try to prove somebody who you are. They see it. Only thing you got to do is show up. It's another thing I teach people as well. Quit being so indecisive. See, if people know how the mind works, I know some people don't. If you know how the mind works, you will figure out that, dang, I could have been where I was supposed to be a long time ago. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't my hater that was stopping me. It was you. It was yourself that was stopping you. And you were stopping yourself from getting to your assignment. And you set yourself back 5 or 10 years. Not saying that your life is over. And I always decree this. I always decree that your latter days will be far more greater than your former days. But you just have to believe. And make sure when you get yourself together as a whole and God puts you back on your assignment, don't go back. Don't look back. Keep going forward. Tiptoe if you have to. Just don't go back.
This to me is why you and I really agree on the fact that authenticity is that important. Mm-hmm. Because if you leave your authenticity, you can't walk that path. You're trying to walk somebody else's path, exactly. And you can't do that. We're here to walk our paths. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even think about myself like back in high school. I was a pretty authentic kid, and I kind of knew myself pretty well, but I didn't believe in myself. So I knew myself, but I didn't believe in myself enough to go be that person. It wasn't until I got into like my 40s that I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done pretending I'm somebody I'm not ever. I won't ever do it.
And Dan, I'm gonna tell you, I just spoke on this the other day. A lot of people don't get themselves together until the age of 25 or 30. You see what I'm saying? But take in mind, a lot of people don't see the age of 25 or 30. A lot of people go to the grave with their dreams. A lot of people go to the grave with not even transition so they can't transform. Because I was the same way in high school until I turned my pain into passion. And the only thing I had for me at the time, I felt like, because I didn't know Christ at the time, only thing I knew was sports. Sports was my outlet. And the fear, the pain, the rejection, and all that, I put it all in this big bubble, and it created something good and created something bad. And as in my later years, I realized what took place, and that which allowed me to break some of the things at the age of 23 and not wait to the age of 25 and 30, 35 and 40. Because I see that from my grandma. My grandma passed away last year on my birthday, and things happen for a reason. And I wanted to break that stronghold from myself, my family, everybody else, because people don't understand. You can't wait until you're 50 or 40, even 30, even 25 is too long, because next second is not promised. And that's the reason why I love to do what I do. If I can save one person, Dan, one person, it take a life to save a life. If I can impute knowledge and speak into your spirit that can transform into you, and then you can speak life into somebody else. Now we say the total of 2 people. I'm doubling. I believe in double. Keep doubling, keep doubling, keep doubling. We got to work at twice as smarter and twice as harder sometimes to get people where they need to be.
I'm like, my mind is just fireworks everywhere because I completely agree with so much of what you're saying. But I'm also thinking, sometimes we think about saving a life, but we also could save people 10 years of their life. If we get them the message earlier, I sometimes wish I had gotten the message earlier from myself or from somebody,
Sometimes, I'm sorry.
No.
But sometimes a message too soon is not the right thing because they will be ready to receive.
That's good point. Good point. Yeah, so I probably received the message when it was time. So that brings me to, I want to ask you a question about your book.
Okay.
Your book is called 24 Phases of Life. Really interesting title that I think just grabs anybody who views even just the cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but you can judge it by its title. 24 Phases of Life. I want to find out what that is, and I haven't gotten to read it yet because I just found out about it yesterday. So tell me, what is this book about? What gave you the idea for the book, and what are these 24 phases?
I wrote that book back in 2019. I want to do something that I thought that I'd never do. And my wife wrote her book first. I said, you know what? Let me write my book. And I just, the title 24 Phases of Life, it came to my head because I said, you know what? If I can give somebody 2 years worth of knowledge to help them get through a 2 years period of straight motivation, encouragement, that can help. So my main objective was to go from 24 phases of life to 48 phases of life and just keep giving people 2 years of daily doses of inspiration. So I wanted people to know me. So the first, and I don't have chapters in that book, I have phases. Because in life, we go through different phases, right? So phase 1 was, poverty. So I spoke about poverty, with my mom, my brother and sister and things like that, because a lot of people probably can't relate to it if they came from a similar situation. And as the phases go on, it speaks about different things, new challenges, how to, get your business started, how to overcome different things like that. And at the end of the book itself, you have scripture, Bible scripture. So of how you feeling. So you feeling angry, you can go to that scripture that speak about anger. And you feel like you have hatred on your heart, you can go to the scripture. So I just want to give people some type of source they can go to, they can refer to. So when they feel in a certain way, they say, you know what? Let me go grab the 24 phases of life, so.
That's great. I mean, and I wouldn't have known that, obviously, without you telling me, but if I'm understanding it correctly, you're giving people ways to have new ways forward in their lives. And I think that's really important because we all get stuck in certain ways. My system of dealing with chronic pain and symptoms is partly about this. It gets people unstuck from where they were, and then they literally enter a new phase of life. But you're talking about it in a variety of ways, that an idea can bring you into a new 2 years.
And then a lot of people, and one thing why I say people, I always tell people about the power of the tongue. When people say I'm stuck, I say you're not stuck. You're going through a transition, so you can transform. And also that when a person feel like they are able to change or get a little more confident about themselves when they see somebody else went through a similar situation, or they see your testimony. So when I speak in this book, as I'm writing the different phases, people are relating to it because they feel like, okay, I wasn't the only one. George went through this too, but he got out. So I'll give you different phases that you're going through so you can transition, so you can transform. Once you transform, you won't be the same person that you was before. You're going through this metamorphosis. So that's what I wanted to give off to a lot of people. So when they read the book and they also watch my contents, my videos, everything line up together. Like, okay, he gave us the blueprint both ways, the content and the book. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that people can see that what you're saying and what you're writing fits with you. Mm-hmm. But I can certainly attest to this myself. There's a pleasure in being who I am that I didn't realize was even possible. And so I was going to ask you if you ever felt like it's a challenge in the world to be yourself and keep going. I find generally it's the opposite, that it is actually very easy to be in the world when you decide I'm going to be me no matter what. Is that similar to how you've experienced it?
Yes. So now, yes, as of right now, it's easy to be myself. It's cheaper to be yourself. You don't lose nothing. You don't lose yourself. You don't lose your spirit, nothing like that. So it's cheaper to lose your to be yourself. But yes, before, who you're looking at now is not who I always been. See, you can't tell you can't tell what I've been through, because I don't look like what I've been through. But there was a point in time in my life where I didn't know who I was. I wanted to be something. I didn't know who I was. Sometimes a person can keep the same character for 10 years, 15 years, until you say, you know what, enough is enough. And I feel like that would happen to me. And then I got tired of being convicted by the man above. So it forced me to grow into who I am. And I didn't feel like I became that person until 2014 when I met my wife. So like she gave me this sense of peace I never felt. Like I'm serious, seriously. Now I tell her all the time, like, my first day I met her, I never felt this sense of peace before. And I was 23 when I met her. I'm about to be 32 this year, but I never experienced this sense of peace I have now. And I believe that she was very open, and she was a good listener, and she had this precious spirit about her. And another thing I feel like as well, because she had 2 kids as well. And so when her kids started calling me dad after a while, it reminded me of who I was, what I was wanting when I was a young kid, my dad, because I'm named after my dad. Even though I'm not the oldest, I'm named after my dad. And I never could understand why my dad couldn't be the man he was trying to raise me to be. But you can't be somebody you're not, because he wasn't there. And a person make the decision what they want to do, and you can't try to fix their mind all the time. So meet my wife gave me the peace and allowed me to be where I'm at now, be true to who I am. I'm walking in my calling, I'm walking in my purpose. I'm me. I don't have to be who the world wants me to be. I just need to be who God called me to be. That's a difference. Like I tell people, they tell you to feed your family, but they never tell you how to feed your family. That's a difference. That's a difference between being somebody else and being who God called you to be, being yourself, the authentic you. There's a difference.
It's interesting because I'm thinking that another way of saying some of the things that we're saying, we have decided to be ourselves, but I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me on this. I've also decided to let everybody else be who they are. I'm not trying to change anybody. I'm interested in who everybody is, and I would love to help them to grow through that and to make the progress to be the best them that they can be.
Yeah.
But they're on their journey, and I'm just kind of fascinated to watch.
Yeah, that's a big one, Dan. You said, when you got love for certain people and you know who they can be, you try to help them change to the person, who you think they could be, but that's not your job all the time. Sometimes you put extra weight on yourself. In life, the only weight you should be carrying is what you weigh right now, what you physically weigh right now. You can't make nobody be somebody who they not. You can't make somebody be ready for something they're not ready for. So I totally agree with that, Dan.
Let me ask one last question. We'll wrap up on this, but I'm one of the things I'm fascinated about with you, and it's partly because I think we're following similar paths. Like I'm speaking my truth, I'm growing my audience, and I'm growing my audience because I do have something important to say, and I want more people to hear it. But when I started out, I remember the first time we recorded this podcast, and I believed in my voice, but it still did take a little suspension of disbelief that I could do this. What was it like for you when you started out?
I would be lying if I said I didn't have doubts, which I did. We'll create them doubts because of when you're not used to doing something, it feels so unfamiliar to you. And we are a creature of habit. So like I say, when in time, we hate being uncomfortable, and we so used to live in comfortability. So when you feel like you care with how people view you, how you sound, how people listen to you, are you saying the right thing? Are they gravitating what you're putting out? Or they picking up what you're putting down? Things like that. But I tell people, there's no progress when there's no process. So you got to go through the process to see progress. I think some people be so focused on the reward that they miss the prize. So not everybody going to agree. Not everybody going to like what you have to say. But as long as you sleep good at night and feeling good about who you are and what you're becoming, then you should be good. It's a win-win situation for you. You could be doing something for 10 years. You could be doing something for 10 years. There's always room and opportunity to get better, to perfect your craft. The more you perfect your craft, the better you're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. I just showed you something. That's longevity. I said, when you perfect your craft, you're going to be different and better from 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. That's longevity. When people don't perfect their craft, they only be good for a short period of time, 2 or 3 years. They don't got nowhere to go from there. So you got to be constantly being very proactive and being intentional. That's another thing I want to speak about too, Dan. Speak about as well, Dan. You got to be very intentional with who you are and what you do. You got to be very intentional with your calling, because that's going to make up a lot of, it's going to take away from the indecisiveness, the overthinking, the overanalyzing, back and forth. And sometimes we critique ourselves so hard that we just stop. And if you be intentional with your craft, I guarantee you, it's going to create that consistency and that motivation within you. And I like what I heard when Jim Jones said the other day. He said, if you can't stay motivated, stay consistent, because the consistency going to bring back that motivation.
Well, this is another reason why I think authenticity drives so much. To me, that organizes all of it. It keeps you intentional. It keeps you in your path. It keeps you from worrying, will people pick up what I put down? Because you know what? And I know you agree with this. The right people are going to pick up what I put down. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I gotta be myself, and the right people. It's like that's how you find your people. Exactly. By being authentic.
Exactly. I do. I totally agree. You said how you find your people. That's true. Oh man, Dan, we just like, man. You find out you've been watching my videos, man. That's true.
The way I would say it, George, is I recognize you were my people when we met. And it was because we were just being ourselves.
Yes.
So, George, I want to thank you for coming on here. This has been a pleasure to talk with somebody as authentic and powerful as you.
Thank you.
Doing such important work, inspiring people, and it's been an honor to have you on. And I hope to have you on again. I hope to stay connected here.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your wisdom with my audience.
Thank you for having me on. And I hope that our message that we spoke about today, reach a lot of people. Because we know it's a lot of people needing it. And we're not here to judge, we're here to help. We got much love for everybody. Thank you for having me, Dan.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, George White is living proof that if you live your authentic self, you find your people. Because George and I, within about 30 seconds of seeing each other, were like, I know that guy. We have a lot of overlap. And I loved talking to him. He's fascinating. He could talk about anything, and you can't stop listening to him because he's saying things authentically. And it was fun to share that part of myself with him, and he seeing that in me and what I put out here on this podcast. So we're connecting on this level that's so much fun. But when it comes to mind-body experience, being authentic is incredibly crucial as well. You have to make sure that you are being you. In fact, that's what your symptoms are telling you. Those are those power column symptoms. They're telling you, be who you are. George White is proof of that. He's doing that in his life. I'm getting to do it in mine, and you get to do it too. And I love bringing this kind of content to you because it's so important. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.